So today I'm gonna do, hey guys, I'm over here. So today I'm gonna do a quick review of my new monitor over there, which is the Samsung G9 Neo, and I'm gonna compare it to my old monitor here. And as usual, it's not actually made for YouTube, it's actually for my own good, because I spent a lot of money to upgrade to that monitor. Unlike every other review that I've seen on YouTube, this is actually not sponsored. This is me putting down my own money into this upgrade. I have been a little bit nervous whether I did the right decision or not. I want to do a very thorough test, partially so I know if I want to send it back, even though that's a complete mess in New Zealand. It's not that easy to just send something back. And even if I can't send it back, if it really is better than my old monitor, I would feel better knowing that for sure. So starting out with the similarities, these are both 49-inch screens and they're both 32:9 aspect ratio. Now, a lot of the reviews that I watched, they wasted a lot of time to discuss whether or not such a wide monitor is a good idea. Don't get me wrong, that's a very interesting discussion, but in my case, I'm already sold that 32:9 aspect ratio is the ultimate ratio. Because as you can see, I already have one of those, and yet when it was time to upgrade, I knew for sure I want to maintain that same aspect ratio. I'm just going to do a separate video where I discuss that. And here I just want to focus more on the monitor itself for people who are either already converted, they already know they want this kind of aspect ratio, or if you don't, check out that other video. Apart from the similarities, the difference is in the curve. So this one here, it is a little bit curved, whereas this one is a whole lot more curved. It's called a 1000R curvature, whatever that means. When I first unboxed this thing, I was extremely disappointed. It just looked absolutely ridiculous. Now that I've had a chance to try it for a few days, these are kind of my observations. It kind of makes this assumption that you're going to view it from a certain distance. If you imagine each of these pixels are kind of pointing towards your face, and that's fine as long as your head is about at that distance. That makes me a little bit nervous, because in the offices where I've been working, I've seen so many people basically sitting like this all day long. So I was a little bit nervous that it was actually designed for someone who has eyesight problems, whereas I would consider myself having a little bit better than average eyesight. When I'm up close, it does feel a little bit too curved for my taste. It does feel like they kind of want me to be a little bit closer. When I'm not up close, because as you can see, I have a standing desk. So sometimes I might be watching a video and I think, oh, this video is going on for longer than I thought. I might take a couple of steps back and, do a little bit of stretching. And that's where the curvature really starts looking like a banana-shaped monitor. Kind of designed with an assumption that you're going to be viewing it from up here somewhere. Now, above the screen, as you can see, I have an OLED screen. And this is kind of just my setup that I've got going. And I'll probably make another video where I explain why this is so awesome to do it like this way. But just kind of to briefly summarize that, if I'm working, for example, in Unreal Engine, I would use this screen for materials, blueprints, the content browser, things like that. And then I will actually have my results up there. Because I wouldn't trust a monitor like this when it comes to the details that I want to see on a much better screen, and my favorite for that is an OLED. And for this setup, if I adjust it perfectly, the problem is that if I start slumping in posture throughout the day, what would happen is that the curvature of the monitor will kind of block the bottom corners of the OLED. Of course, it doesn't have to be perfectly aligned. So the easy solution here is just to raise the TV up a little bit more, so to give it a little bit more of that buffer. And that's probably what I will be doing. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But I kind of do wish for that reason, and I guess for all the other reasons, that it was a little bit flatter. So I'm gonna have to say that when it comes to the curvature, my old monitor is the winner. I'm trying to think about for other users I think I would say the same for other users. There is one benefit of this, and that is that because it is more curved, it is actually a few centimeters more narrow than this screen without sacrificing screen size. You're still getting the full 49-inch of actual screen size, but it actually takes up less space on the desk. So I could bring this speaker in closer here if I wanted to, for example. But all in all, this one is the winner when it comes to the curvature. The other big difference is, I guess, the resolution. So this one is quite a lot higher resolution. To some of you, that might actually be a bad thing. I think some people buy these kind of monitors for playing racing games. For that, this kind of resolution might be straining your computer a little bit too much, if you want to play on really high frame rates. There are some benefits of actually having a little bit lower resolution. And it's not like super low resolution. It's still literally 2 screens of full HDs. So it's not low by any means. It's just that this one is even higher. In my particular case, I would say that 95% of my days are spent in Unreal Editor, and here I do feel that the UI was just a little bit too big on this monitor for my taste. I wasn't at all bothered about the actual fidelity of the pixels. In fact, I remember even looking into Windows, can I scale it, instead of scaling it from 100 to something like 125%, can I scale it in the opposite direction to be like 90%, 80%? You can't do that in Windows, unfortunately. But I was looking into it because I was fine with the actual resolution. I just felt like the UI was too big. But there is no way to make the UI smaller, as far as I know. This resolution has kind of solved that for me. So resolution-wise, I would pick this one as the winner. But for some of you guys, this will be the winner. The other thing is black levels. So that's probably the main reason why I started thinking about doing an upgrade. Don't get me wrong, this has pretty good picture quality. The problem is, first of all, that's an OLED over there. OLEDs are unbeatable. Like, getting an OLED is the biggest mistake you can ever make. Because after you've experienced pixels displayed in OLED, suddenly everything else just looks crap in comparison, and the black levels especially. In this particular case, that was not necessarily the problem. The problem was more that sometimes I just wanted to, let's say, watch a video that I made up on the OLED, and I didn't want this to distract me. So then I would have a black background on my windows and just minimize everything here and only watch on that. And the problem is that because the black levels on this is just a little bit too bright for my taste, it means that as I was trying to focus on the OLED, I can't help noticing that this monitor is still on, even though it's completely black. And of course, unfortunately, if you just turn off one monitor, and especially when you're working with 3D software, that can, crash your software sometimes. And as you would expect at this price level, the black levels are darker on this monitor than that monitor. So that's probably like the main reason why I got it. And it wasn't as big of a difference that I was hoping for, because I'm comparing it to an OLED, and OLED have perfect black levels. So I was actually disappointed when I saw the black levels on this thing. But again, it's just my expectations are too high. When I go back to comparing this to this, then I see that, okay, it is better. So I've been going back and forth kind of comparing the picture quality of these two monitors now. And yeah, I must say, it's better on this monitor, sure. But, it's not a whole lot better. So I think what the mistake that I did was I looked at the price tag and I thought I was getting something for professionals, basically. That's kind of how I justified buying something this expensive, was because, I'm a professional now. I work from home. I'm doing my own contracting business. I should have professional gear, and this was a professional level price tag. It turns out that I was looking at it the wrong way. The price tag for this monitor is simply paying for the aspect ratio. It's I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe I've heard that it is simply a lot more expensive to produce these LED panels at this aspect ratio. So you shouldn't really expect the kind of quality you might get from a photography monitor or anything like that. But with that said, you know, there's an improvement compared to this one, which makes sense. It is a little bit newer and it is quite a lot more expensive. Still, of course, the image quality is nowhere near as good as an OLED. It is, on the other hand, a lot brighter than an OLED, so I guess there's pros and cons there. So all in all, my review of this monitor is that I was definitely questioning whether I did the right decision here by upgrading to this monitor. And I would say that for me, who is a professional working from home nowadays, even though there's only a slight advantage to it, I guess it does kind of make sense. That doesn't necessarily mean that I recommend it for everyone. In fact, especially if you haven't really gotten used to the 32:9 aspect ratio, because that's not for everyone. If you're not even sure that you like that aspect ratio, I probably would start with a cheaper monitor. You probably wouldn't really be missing out that much compared to this monitor. So I was a little bit nervous when I first unboxed it, thinking I did a huge mistake, a very costly mistake. Now in hindsight, I'm starting to feel a bit more cool about it.